Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hope your day and your week is going well so far. We've got a new day, which of course means a new MLB Player Prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. We've got a solid MLB slate on tonight, and I have 5 picks to share with you guys that I'm very excited about. But first, before we dive into today's picks, we have to go through a quick little recap of how we did last night. And it was another solid performance here on the channel. We went 3-1 in yesterday's picks. We've now on a 15-9 run dating back to last Monday. So we've been on the money rate of late here in the video series since returning from vacation. So really solid night. The only prop we missed was the Willie Castro prop, which of course was the prop that I had selected for the Amazon gift card giveaway. So apologies, nobody won that. But need no fear, there will be more contests like that in the near future. I'll be doing more stuff like that. You guys really responded well to that. So expect more of that coming soon throughout the video series. So with that out of the way, guys, let's carry on that momentum into today's video. 5 picks. Let's see if we can get a sweep here today. Jumping right into the Outlier screen here, guys. Shout out to Outlier. They are the sponsor of today's video, but not only that, but they're the best sports betting tool on the market. There is a special link down below in our description that gives you guys a 7-day free trial to check it out for yourself. It really is the best sports betting tool. If you guys are serious about sports betting, if you're looking to make real money in sports betting, you gotta have a proper sports betting tool by your side. And Outlier truly is the best one. It consolidates everything, puts it all together, makes it real easy to navigate and real easy to find quality winners. If you watched my videos before, you know what Outlier can do for you. Again, if you haven't watched my videos, stick around and I'll show you guys what Outlier is all about. But guys, 7-day free trial down below, no risk involved. You don't like it after 7 days, you cancel, no money charged to you at all. So 7-day free trial down below with our special link. Shout out to Outlier for sponsoring today's video. All right, our first of 5 picks in today's slate. We're starting off with the Reds-Marlins game, 6:40 p.m. First pitch. We're going Otto Lopez here, over a half a strikeout. You can get that on Prize Picks for -119, BetMGM for -120, Underdog for -120, and DraftKings for -125. As always, guys, make sure to shop around for the best odds available across all sportsbooks. Data looks pretty good here. You see 8 of his last 10 games. That's an 80% hit rate for Otto Lopez on the strikeout prop, an average of 0.8 strikeouts per game over his last 10 games. If we go ahead and stretch that data out to his last 20 games, it gets pretty good, actually about the same, close. 70% hit rate, 14 of his last 20 games he's managed to cash this over with an average of 0.75 strikeouts per game over the last 20 games. Now, and so far in 2024, it is in the red, just a 49% hit rate, but of late, you see a lot more cashes on this over. 32 out of 65 games this year, he has cashed the over, an average of 0.6 strikeouts per game. If we scroll down below, you see the insights provided by Outlier. Thank you to Outlier, as always. Otto Lopez has exceeded half strikeouts in 8 of his last 9 games. 0.9 strikeouts per game over his last 9 games. So he's been striking out a lot of late here for the Marlins. And scrolling down below here to the key matchup stats. So you see Otto Lopez this year is batting .232. However, versus left-handed pitchers, that does drop down to .185. His strikeout percentage is basically the same, 16.6 versus 16.2. A very minor decrease. Still 16% just about. You see his walk percentage does decrease a pretty significant amount versus left-handed pitchers. That's obviously really good for us. Just a 1.5% walk rate there. And looking down below at Nick Lodolo, the pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds tonight, you see a 24.4% strikeout rate versus right-handed batters. Again, a slight increase to 24.9, just about 25% strikeout rate versus right-handed batters. Obviously, his strikeout/walk ratio increases. So the matchup's really good here. You got a batter who's been striking out a lot lately versus a pitcher who's got a really high strikeout rate at 25% just about. For Nick Lodolo. So when you put those things together, it's a really solid matchup here. There's no head-to-head stats versus these two, but based off the splits and based off the data, it's a really solid prop for -120, -125, depending where you're getting this prop. It's a really solid prop to kick off today's video. All right, guys, moving on to the second pick of today's slate. We're moving on to the Giants-Nationals game, 6:45 p.m. first pitch. We got Mike Yastrzemski of the San Francisco Giants over half total base. You can go ahead and get this for -120 on Underdog, -125 on Bet365, -130 on DraftKings, and -135 on Caesars. Yastrzemski's hit this in 8 of his last 10 games. That is an 80% hit rate with an average of 1.4 total bases per game over his last 10 games. If we go ahead and we stretch that data out to his last 20 games, the picture is the same. 16 of his last 20 games, he's cashed the over, an 80% hit rate with an average of 1.85 total bases per game. That data fares very well for us here. So far in 2024, a 53% hit rate on this over. 49 out of 93 games this season, he has cashed this over with an average of 1.26 total bases per game. I don't usually go far back into like last year's data too much, but just to paint the picture for you guys, even last year he was cashing this line pretty consistently. You see in 2023, a 51% hit rate on this over with an average of 1.43 total bases per game. So he consistently does this. This is not just a new thing. It's not a recent thing between this year and last year. He's been cashing this line pretty consistently. Looking down below, again, the insights provided by Outlier. Mike Yastrzemski has exceeded half base in 9 of his last 11 games, an average of 1.5 bases per game over the last 11 games. Looking down below at the matchup stats here, Mike Yastrzemski versus Mackenzie Gore, 7 plate appearances dating back to 2018, a 333 batting average with a 429 OBP, 833 slugging percentage. He has 2 hits, 5 total bases, and 2 extra base hits off of Mackenzie Gore, dating back to 2018. And looking down below at the matchup stats, the splits down below, it gets even better. You see so far this year, Yastrzemski 245 batting average, not bad. Versus left-handed pitchers, it's the same thing. I know it shows green, but it's literally the same thing, 245. You do see his BABIP, a nice increase there to 406. His ISO does have a pretty significant drop, and his extra base hit percentage has a pretty steep drop, but still 30.8% is pretty good. And Mackenzie Gore here, this is where it really gets enticing. You see his batting average allowed 279 overall, but versus left-handed batters, that increases to 311. His slugging percentage, 462. His extra base hit percentage is already high to begin with at 30%. Very minor increase to 30.3, but still, it's essentially 30%. Doesn't really make a difference. His ERA does drop to 4.15, but I'm not too concerned about that. The moral of the story, though, is that Mackenzie Gore versus left-handed batters struggles a little bit more than he does in general. And Yastrzemski, although there's not a ton of data to support that he's better versus left-handed pitchers, he's about par for the course of what he normally is, with some slight decreases there in some of the categories. But overall, it's a really solid prop. All right, guys, we just hit the 7-minute mark in today's video. Go ahead and comment 7 down below if you're still watching at this point in the video. Appreciate you guys for always watching all the way through. And obviously, yesterday, all the comments of Castro telling me that you guys watched pretty deep into that video. So I really do appreciate all you guys. Clap it up for all you guys watching all the way through these videos. I really do appreciate it because a lot of work does go into it. I know maybe it doesn't seem like it's a lot of work, but a lot of work does go into making these videos. So I do appreciate you guys who do watch all the way through. So comment 7 down below. Also, real quick before we dive into the rest of the picks, apologies for yesterday, that stupid-ass scammer, Guy Boston Spots. I know some people obviously responded. Some people got tricked into it. I apologize for those people. They use our logo and everything. Really annoying. Fucking loser-ass scammers. I don't understand why people have to be like that. They ruin the fun for everybody. That account has been reported. It's been removed from the channel. Hopefully no more problems with that. But I do apologize to anybody who was duped by that yesterday. I do apologize. And people, listen, it's not a shameful thing. Honestly, at first I was like, did Ev respond to that? Did someone? I didn't respond to that because it looked just like ours. It literally is just minus, the R in Guy Boston Spot. So anyways, I do apologize for that, guys. We will make sure to keep an eye out for any other scammers like that, again, for future contests. But apologies one more time. All right, third pick from today's slate. We actually have 2 picks coming from this Orioles-Blue Jays game, which is a 7:07 p.m. first pitch. The first pick from this game, our third pick overall, we're going Colton Cowser of the Baltimore Orioles over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. You can go ahead and get this on Prize Picks for -119, Underdog for -120, DraftKings for -130, and BetMGM for -130. And the data on this prop is absolutely fantastic, guys. It doesn't get much better than this. See, each of the last 10 games, Colton Cowser has cashed the over. Beautiful. All that green. Look at all that green. It's a thing of beauty. 10 out of 10, 100%. 3.3 HRRs per game over the last 10 games. He's been crushing it of late for the Orioles. And if you go ahead and search that data out even further to the last 20 games, it's still really solid. 90%. 90%. 17 consecutive games. He has cashed the over. 17 consecutive games. Now, look, our luck may be that it ends here, but 17 straight games. If you've been betting this over at 1.5 HRRs every game for the last couple weeks, you'd be making a lot of money. We're going to go ahead and see if we can ride the hot hand here and keep the trend going. 2.95 HRRs per game. In the head-to-head data so far on this one, 7 of his last 11 matchups versus the Blue Jays, he's cashed the over, including Each of his last 4 matchups this very season versus the Toronto Blue Jays, he's cashed the over with a couple of really big games there versus the Blue Jays. Although so far in 2024, just a 49% hit rate, 50 out of 102 games. He's cashed the over. You see, it was a little bit of a rough stretch through the middle of the year, but of late, again, look at all that green there towards the end. So really solid stretch here. We're going to see if we can ride the hot hand here. And if somehow that data didn't convince you, well, the key matchup stats down below, I think will help fully convince you to ride with me on this prop. You see Colton Cowser versus Chris Bassett dating back to 2018. 6 plate appearances, 333 batting average. Not crazy numbers, but not terrible numbers either. You see 253 batting average this year. Slight uptick to 255 versus right-handed pitchers, but overall the data remains the same. But where I really like this is the Chris Bassett side of things. Versus left-handed batters, you see his ERA jumps from 402 to 579. And his batting average allowed goes from 271 to 291. His home runs per 9.9 to 1.3. His OBA 324 to 357. So increases across the board. A bunch of green there for Chris Bassett. This prop was just green on green on green, just like a strip club with all that money. Tons of green around, guys. This is a really solid prop. This is actually one of the best data props I've seen. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's obviously sports betting. Anything can happen. But between everything, between the recent data, the trends, the key matchup stats, this prop is absolutely fantastic. All right, guys, the 4th prop from today's slate and the 2nd pick from this Orioles-Blue Jays game. We're going with another hot hand here, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. You get that on BetMGM for minus 140, DraftKings for minus 145, or Underdog for minus 155. And although not as good as the last one, data is still really strong here. You see 9 of his last 10 games, he has cashed the over, an average of 4.3 HRRs per game. He had cashed actually 9 consecutive games leading up to that Yankee game, their last game on Sunday. Unfortunately, he did not. He did get a hit, but he did not cash that over. Look at the last 20 games, a 75% hit rate over his last 20 games, 15 of his last 20. He's cashed the over with an average of 3.65 HRRs per game. So far in 2024, a 55% hit rate on this over for Vladdy Jr., 61 out of 111 games with an average of 2.46 HRRs per game. So he's been doing this all year long, really, for Toronto. Of course, of late, he's gotten really hot, but overall, pretty good. And look at the head-to-head data here. 13 of his last 23 games versus the Baltimore Orioles, he has cashed the over, including in 5 straight games this season versus Baltimore, he's cashed the over. It's a 57% hit rate overall over the last 23 games with an average of 2.17 HRRs per game. You look at this from this point on, that's this season. That's the first matchup they had this year. Really good data. We'll go ahead and do some quick math there. It's 8 out of 10 games this year versus the Orioles, he has cashed the over. It's an 80% hit rate. So really good data there from a head-to-head standpoint. And looking down below here at the key matchup stats versus Rodriguez, 15 plate appearances, dating back to 2018, a 357 batting average with a 400 OBP. He's even homered off of Rodriguez once before. Looking at the splits down below, Vladdy Jr., 316 batting average overall, a slight decrease to 312 versus right-handed pitchers, but overall, the data mostly remains the same. And looking at versus Grayson Rodriguez of the Orioles, you see his numbers increase in our favor. Goes from 3.86 ERA to a 4.04 ERA. Batting average allowed goes from 243 up to 279. Home runs per 9, OBA, everything increases. It's a really solid matchup here for another guy who has been red hot of late. So riding the hot hand mixed with a solid head-to-head matchup versus the pitcher, recipe for a hit, in my opinion. All right, guys, in our 5th and final prop from today's slate, we're moving on to the White Sox-A's game, 9:40 p.m. first pitch. We're going with Miguel Vargas under 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs, and we're also riding the hot hand here, but not in the way that we talked about the last couple props. This trend is hot. The player, not so much. You see he's cashed under in 9 of his last 10 games for the White Sox, an average of 0.8 HRRs per game. Not very good. Kind of the story of the entire White Sox team this year. This matchup, actually, White Sox versus A's, pretty tough baseball to watch, to be honest. Unless you're a diehard fan, even those diehard fans may not want to tune in to this one. This is definitely like an ESPN StatCast watch kind of thing. Look at the last 20 games. 17 of his last 20 games, he's cashed the under, an average of 0.9 HRRs per game. So far in 2024, a 72% hit rate on the under. Small sample size. He's only played in 36 games this year for Chicago, but in 26 out of 36 of those games, he has managed to cash the under with an average of 1.19 HRRs per game. And going ahead and look at the head-to-head data, the one time he's faced off with Oakland yesterday, he had 1 hit but no runs and no RBIs. It was a 5-1 win for Oakland. Looking down below here, Miguel Vargas has failed to exceed 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 17 of his last 18 games. That is atrocious. Over half hits plus runs, RBIs per game average. Vargas so far in 2018, since 2018, I should say, just 2 plate appearances versus Ross Stripling. Has not gotten a hit off of him. He did get on base, so I'm assuming probably a walk or a hit by pitch. But yeah, very small sample size. Not really much we can get from that. But looking at the key splits down below, Vargas 211 batting average this year versus right-handed pitchers. That drops to 164. Again, smaller sample size, just 63 plate appearances this year versus right-handed pitchers. But again, nonetheless, it's still lower. And then looking at Ross Stripling, his ERA does increase significantly versus right-handed batters. Not too concerned with that. That 7 ERA is pretty high, but the batting average allowed just dropped from 313 to 279. Now, 279 is also pretty high. Don't love that spot, but he is better versus right-handed batters than he is versus left-handed batters when it comes to the batting average allowed. This isn't out of all the props, this data is the least enticing, although the trend data and the overall season data pretty good on the part of Miguel Vargas. Ross Stripling is the part that makes me nervous about this prop a little bit because he's not exactly, I would say, a good pitcher. A 5.64 ERA and a 3.13 batting average allowed this year is pretty shitty. But you have a batter who's ice cold. I wouldn't say ice cold. He's getting hits, but he's not covering this line consistently versus a pitcher who at least is slightly better versus right-handed batters than he is overall. It's risky, yes, but it is minus 140 for a reason, minus 145, depending where you're getting your odds. It's that high for a reason. I do like the prop overall still. All right, guys, so those are all 5 picks for today's video right there. And again, if you click there, we have a special link down below that has a link that takes you right to this page for the picks. It's the first link that's available. It literally says in the description, here's a link for the picks. You click that, it takes you right to this page. You see all 5 picks from today's video. Really solid. And again, you go down below. It shows you all of the sports books, all the picks available. You see all 5 bets available on Underdog, 4 out of 5 available on BetMGM, and all 5 available on DraftKings. FanDuel, non-existent today. No FanDuel available. So if you guys are betting on FanDuel, unfortunately, no props for you guys today. But guys, that does it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. One more time, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that like button if you haven't already. And drop a comment down below. Like I said, it really does help the channel grow. All the interaction, it does great numbers for us. Really helps new people get drawn into the channel, which obviously is our goal. Our goal is 100,000 subscribers by Christmas. We're at 81,000, almost 82,000 right now. I think we can get there. I really do. With football season coming up, hopefully that'll bring in some new subscribers also. I think 100,000 is realistic, but we do need your help to get there. But guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. Until next time, until tomorrow, I hope you're all winners. Have a good one, everybody.